Vivi's dead. Long live Standard.
And the World Championships are this weekend.
This week on battlechads.
Hello everybody, welcome back to a new episode of Battlechads. My name is Dan and I am joined by my two favourite co-hosts in the whole wide world, Sam and Josh. How are we, lads? You okay?
I feel a little jealous now that there's this hidden fourth co-host and nobody else.
I was about to think that. What are the co-hosts you have, Dan?
Oh, well,
wow.
You know, it's just a bit on the side, you know what I mean?
I didn't realise this was an open podcast, to be honest, but that's fine. I'm doing okay. Thank you very much for asking. How are you doing, Josh?
I was fine until about 5 seconds ago.
I know, it's atrocious.
Listen, lads, it's not you, it's me. All right, let's just put it there, and we'll leave it at that. Yeah.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a new episode of the Battlechads. We are your amazing co-hosts. It's been a while since we've all been together, and it's always a special treat when we're all together because there's not just one case of weirdness and randomness or two, then there's all three of us together, and all three of us are being extra weird and extra random in our own aspects. Josh is obsessed with frogs. Sam is obsessed with nothing, and I like red things. Everyone. Sam's here, yeah, and I like red things, so, you know, there we go. So this week, sorry about the little going off script a little bit.
Are you okay?
No, I'm not. I think I'm having a midlife crisis as we recorded it.
You're leading the podcast today. Oh, I've got this. Don't worry, I've got this.
Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry. So this week we're going to be touching on, going back to an episode that we recorded a few weeks ago, which I was not able to be a part of, with one of the founders of Chad Magic, Christian, where we touched up on some of the key and most powerful cards that were coming out of Avatar's Last Airbender, the most recent set in Magic the Gathering. First of all, really, really good episode. If you've not watched it yet, be sure to watch this one first and then go back and watch it. Or if you want to see if we were right halfway through this, then go watch that one and then come back and finish watching this one. So again, I wasn't there, so we had a few picks. Some of them were a bit more, you know, what's the word? Hit and miss. Some of them were a bit, you know, nail on the head with the hammer and all that. Yeah. How do we feel about Standard?
I feel fine about Standard. Are you sure you're okay?
Yeah, man, I'm good.
I feel like I've just got 9 on 1 dialed here just in case something goes wrong. But no, Standard feels really good. I think that people don't realize just how miserable the VV decks were. They were pretty grim to play against, and actually, of course, there was probably some really good Magic in the mirror, which, you know, fellow Chad Magic member Maciek loved. He said the mirror was actually really fun, but, you know, having that much of a deck, it was VV standard. I think it's fair to say. Nobody's going to disagree with us on that, and just to see it not be one card standard anymore. I think the one thing from that Avatar video, Josh, is that it was essentially, we described it a little bit as a standard Horizons, and I think that has actually come to fruition. The set's really powerful.
Definitely, yeah.
And has actually made quite relevant changes to standard. So we're in that discovery phase at the moment, and I have to say, Avatar's been out, 2 weeks now?
Give or take, yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds silly, but being in a discovery phase 2 weeks after a set's released for loads of different decks and strategies is just a really rare thing at the moment because things get solved so quickly. So it's really fun. Have you managed to play any standard, Josh?
So recently a friend of mine locally has been getting into standard, so we've been playing a bit in paper. I've not really been focusing with standard online or anything like that because I prefer like modern, legacy, those sort of formats, where Avatar's had somewhat impact, particularly in legacy. But the standard metagame, the way it looks is, well, for me as a in-franchise sort of Kaito player within standard, like I played Kaito now for it's been legal, well, the deck's been around for a year, over a year now that I've been playing it, and I feel like I feel like the power level of standard has surpassed that deck. Like, and I feel like the deck choice that I've been on, even though it's completely viable and still playable and there's not much changed, I think it's behind the curve of what Avatar's brought to the format. Particularly with the Oberoi decks, with the Badger Moles and all that. I just feel like it gives the opponent, if you're playing against them, like that extra turn ahead or that extra step ahead, where like a deck like blue black really struggles. And I've noticed archetypes being invented to sort of or changed to sort of meet these new strategies. So for example, Sam, me and you've talked about the blue black bounce deck, or bounce strategies that have come back, with the Storm Chasers talent decks. But you've also seen new strategies come along, so like new combo decks with the airbending stuff, and as well as the VV players moving to more blue-red piles around different ways of building it. But it seems to me that there's like sort of two camps. There's like, you're either playing Storm Chasers talent decks, or you're not. So it's like the Badger Mole decks or Storm Chaser talent decks is what I feel.
I think that's a very fair way of putting it.
Yeah. So I alluded in our group chat as part of the team, like when Boomerang Basics got spoiled, it was like, this is just going to be Splinter Twin with Storm Chaser's talent, and long and behold, now we had the world's meta breakdown come out not too long ago, and it's like, and there's, I think it was like 237 copies of Boomerang Basics registered.
Most
it was a vast amount.
Popular card. It's above cards like Badger Mole Club, which I'm not sure if you guys keep up with, but if you keep up with the Magic discourse on platforms like X, people really hate Badger Mole Club.
Oh yeah, it's insane.
People have been. It's been the clickbait of the week. The card's pretty obnoxious, but it's nice to see that is not the most played card of the event.
Yeah.
It's hard for a Mythic 2-drop to be, but it's definitely like, it's the second most played card, don't get me wrong. It's a very, very powerful card, but it's nice not to see it at the obvious, too much of it.
I think it makes sense at this point, Dan, if it's all right with you, to talk a bit about why the controversy behind Badger Mole Club is such a thing. And I think, Sam, you being a judge will know this. It's all to do with the interaction with the earth-bended land, right?
Yeah.
For example, there was questions along the new board wipe, what's it called? The X black one.
Day of the Black Sun or something like that.
Day of the Black Sun basically reads that you remove all creatures' abilities and then destroy those creatures with this CMC X or less.
Yeah, now, they lose all abilities as well.
Yeah, so they lose all abilities. So people are like, well, the land's lost the abilities, but what it actually is with earthbending is, Sam, take this over.
Well, firstly, Josh, thank you for reminding me that I'm a judge. I definitely take it seriously. and secondly, this is a bit harder to represent in paper, but if you were to play on Arena or on Modo, like us dinosaurs in the chat currently do, if you have a card and play something like a Shelter by Ghost that says this card gets Ward 1, you will physically see on that card that Ward 1 has been added to the enchanted creature, right? The way that the earthbending works, because obviously getting your lands blown up is kind of feels bad. So the way they've made earthbending work is that it's not actually on the card. So if you were to use a Badger Mole Club, animate your forest, if you were to have that on Arena or on Modo, you wouldn't see the little bit of text, if this dies or exiled, it comes back to the battlefield. It's actually a triggered ability that's attached to that basic land.
Yeah.
So essentially, you can make that card lose all ability, gets destroyed, triggers still. It's a bit of an unintuitive mechanic in the fact that, like, for one, it's a standard set. Explaining it to newer players is probably a pain. I've not come across that personally yet, but it's the fact that, like, operates on an axis of rules of delayed triggers, and delayed triggers are just kind of a pain anyway. But the fact that they get around, like, cards like that, or, like, or other effects like that, I think the only spell in Standard that actually just cuts it is Ultima, because that ends the turn, which is its own nightmare of rules declaration. But any triggers are on a stack when the turn ends, get exiled off the stack. So Ultimate beats that, but yeah, Day of the Black Sun does not. And it's a bit weird because it's not actually printed on the card. It's just something that the game state remembers. I think that sounded very judgy, Josh.
I think so.
Yeah, thanks.
I'd agree, yeah.
I'm not going to say anything for the rest of the podcast. You guys carry on.
That's fine.
Do you know what I did discover though, Dan? Is that the card The End, if you were to The End a bounded land, you would actually, even though the land would come back, you would exile all of the lands in their graveyard in their library.
Wow, I did not know that at all.
So if you The End a forest that's earthbended, for example, you would exile all forests in their in their library, because The End reads, and I'm going to for the avoidance of doubt, I'm not going to talk about the two less for each. If you're Well, I'm going to read the whole card. Why not? So The End, two black and two generic. Instant from Wilds of Eldraine. This spell costs 2 less to cast if your life total is 5 or less. Irrelevant text in the concept of this, potentially. Exile target creature or planeswalker. The earthbended land is a creature. Search its controller's graveyard, hand, and library for any number of cards with the same name as that permanent, and exile them. That player shuffles and draws cards for each card exiled from their hand this way. So you exile Earthbended Forest. Other cards in the library called Forest will get exiled.
The End's just like quite an insane card. Like it would be the same with like there's some planeswalker out there. I'm pretty sure it's one of the nisses that makes a land, a creature that gets X +1/+1 counters. It'd be sort of like the same situation in that. There's loads of different ways that you can combat it, but the Badger Maul itself is absolutely insane. Like there's loads of different decks that I could just slot into. Not even talking like standard. Like it's made an impact in modern. It's made a big impact in legacy, where you could just keep on recurring your wastelands, especially with like a Spring Heart Nantuko or something like that bestowed onto it. I've seen something on Twitter, and that made me feel a little tiny bit sick. But with the Badger Maul Cub, it's non-legendary, so you're not really worried about playing 4 copies of. It goes in a lot of the green decks, even in like more importantly, or not importantly, more so like in Yawgmoth, where you don't run that many mana dorks anyway. But then when you do make mana dorks, you could just go off with them, and then you get a really really good 2-drop as well. It's insane with Urza Saga on its own. I know that a few Titan decks have been playing 1 or 2 Badger Maul Cubs. Just getting your Urza Saga, it's a bit too slow, but if you're in that state where you sort of activating your Urza Saga to get tokens every other turn, then I feel like you're going to be fine in that situation anyway. It is a ridiculous card, and in standard, some of the board states that I've seen, and like some of the lads that have been testing standard in the team, some that they've seen, even off of like a 1-lander, it's absolutely ridiculous. Some would say it's too good for the format.
Yeah, I think that Badger Maul Cub is a card that lets you get away with things in Magic that you usually wouldn't be able to get away with. If you take a look at, the keeping a low land count, turn 1 land or elf, if you kept a 1-land, that's turn 2 Badger Maul Cub. From there, you animate your land. You have technically hit your mana requirement for the turn, because now you've got 2 mana. Then next turn, you're untapped and you've got 3 mana. So you're actually up. Even though you've only played 1 land, you've actually gone 1, 2, 3 on your mana curve, right?
You'll have 4 mana, right, when you untap. Because the Land of War Elves and the land both tap for an additional green. So turn 3, you just go Ouroboros off of 1 land. It's insane.
Yeah.
That's crazy, yeah. It's whenever you tap a creature for mana, you add an additional green. Yeah. And look, let's ask that question now, because that's a good question, Dan. Is Badger Maul Cub too strong for standard?
So when I'm going to go back to Foundations, cast your minds back to Foundations, and they spoiled Land of War Elves, and everyone said this is going to be too good for the format, because it was too good for the format when, days back when Green Blue was, relatively playable with Arrows and Okos. Land of War Elves was knocking about somewhere, and it just allowed you to do these crazy plays on turn 2. I get that we have cards like Gene Pollinator, so it's sort of like a Land of War Elves, but you still need to have a an untapped creature to be able to tap the Gene Pollinator for a mana. Malt Tender's sort of in the same barrel, but it's got a restriction where you need to have a card in your graveyard to be able to ramp. So in the decks like Roots, it's usually quite important to take cards out of your graveyard to make plant tokens and just keep on going with that engine. But just these 1 mana mana dorks, more specifically Llanowar Elves, I would say are a bit too strong for standard. But Badger Mole Cub, absolutely, it's way too strong for standard.
I think one of the most exciting decks that Badger Mole's come into, and moving on to generally Avatar, the set itself, is this new sort of Bant combo deck with its Doc Orlock, Appa Steadfast Guardian, and I think it's the Ang Swift Savior.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so like this deck completely came out of Avatar. So I think the whole purpose of this deck is to then ramp into a combo of those 3 cards we just mentioned, where you then make infinite infinite 1/1s in a way. Well, that's how you do it. So this is a quite exciting deck that really breaks the rules of Magic, because of, well, you've got this sort of blink effect that is made cheaper through Doc Orlock. And then you've got the Badger Mole Cub mana acceleration with the whole package of this within the Airbender set. And I think that's like a really exciting deck to come across. I don't know what it's like to play against it, because I haven't yet. But those cards that you mentioned, Llanowar Elves, Gene Pollinator, all about ramping up. That's their key plays in this deck, playing 4 apiece in this.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've only just discovered, and every time we come on this pod, I feel like, oh my god, this is in Foundations. I've just discovered that Greater Behemoth is in the format, even though this is not in Foundations. I didn't realize it was in. It's in
Dragonstorm.
Dragonstorm, yeah. So Greater Behemoth was actually, I didn't even realize.
Yeah,
yeah. So let's just. I think it's the newest deck that we've seen, but it's also like the trickiest to explain. So Josh kind of went over it then. So obviously, airbending is when you, if someone has airbending, you can pay 2 mana to cast it once it's exiled, once it's been airbended. What Doc Orlock allows you to do is it's a green and a blue. It's either a 1/3 or 2/3 from Outlaws of Thunder Junction, and spells you cast from exile cost 2 less. So now your airbending costs 0. You just airbend for 0. So once your spell is in exile, you pay 0 and it comes into play. What Appa does is Appa lets you airbend as many other creatures you control as you'd like, but whenever you cast a creature spell from exile, you make a 1/1 ally. So what you do is you have an Appa in play and a Doc Orlock, or, the game might not lead up to exactly that, but the cleanest version of the combo is Ang Swift Savior. You when it enters, you airbend a creature or a spell. You airbend the Appa. You play the Appa again for 0 because of Doc Orlock. The Appa exiles Swift Savior, or whatever creatures you want to exile. Then you play the Swift Savior again. You make a 1/1 from Appa. Then from the Swift Savior entering, you airbend Appa. You've now demonstrated a loop of infinite 1/1s. It's tricky to play against. It's a very fiddly deck. And I can imagine it being very overwhelming. It's very reminiscent of Spirits, old school Collector Company Spirits.
Definitely.
A lot of flash, speed, instant interaction. Honestly, I was a bit nervous about the deck because it just plays on an axis that might not be particularly fun or healthy. But I was speaking to Matt Check yesterday when a lot of decks are now just playing 4 UltraPRO in the sideboard, because that's in standard, apparently. And Josh, you'll be lovely to know, it's not from Foundations, that one. So, so there's already some counterplay to the deck. So I think
the deck just crumbles that though, right? Because I'm looking here and like beyond that combo, there's not really any sort of. I mean, you got Greater Behemoth that is quite hard to cast. You've got these other creatures that do stuff. Like I think it shuts the deck down quite hard, right? Because when you have this combo gone, it's not really a good mid-range deck, and it's not really a good.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah.
It can't really change into anything else, but
No,
So
it can't do the dramatic sideboard change.
What I like about the deck, and I played against it the other day, and it's like turn 1 Gene Pollinator, turn 2 Doc, turn 3 in my end step Ang to exile one of my cards. So it's very much like how you said, Sam, very much like Spell Queller or even Interrupter in recent times, where the spells just go to exile or whatever. And then it just untaps, plays Appa, starts doing all its combo stuff, and I'm like, am I just dead? And then it took me like 2 loops to realize that I'm just dead next turn. It is a fun deck, but like Josh said, it doesn't really have an amazing sort of mid-range package. It doesn't seem to have a decent enough plan B, apart from the fact where you just playing these fur creatures like Ang and Appa at flash speeds, and it's got Quantum Riddler, because what decks don't run Quantum Riddler at the minute? And then it's got the Creative Behemoth, which if there's not a UltraPRO about, great, you just win through a Great Hoof. That's how those games usually work anyway. But it's interesting. It's a very, very interesting deck, and it's because it's new. I'm assuming that not a lot of people know how to play against it optimally. Sort of like timing your spells. You don't want to jump it into an Ang, or want to hold up interaction, and so on and so forth. But it is definitely a very interesting deck, and as Josh said, it's got 4 badge multiples in, so why wouldn't you play it?
I did see the Ang Swift Savior as like a standalone card that I saw some people playing and do fairly well with, like a blue-white, basically like tempo deck. Like tempo strategies. People said, like, I saw a Spike league or Spike, well, Twitch, that he was on about. He was playing Ang Swift Savior, and people were like, what, isn't this just not worse than Spell Queller? And I sort of, you sort of see that argument, where instead of actually, let them cast the spell for free, but for 2 again, as a tempo player, you're actually, completely almost countering 4 CMC or lower. But I think the advantage this has is that you play like a problematic permanent or something, and then in their end step they can flash in this Ang, and it removes it from the battlefield, not just interact with it on the stack. So I think that's the edge over it there.
I think that talking about Airbending, I think that there are 2 really important cards of the deck that play outside of the combo, which is very important. Ang Swift Savior, I think, is a very, very well-designed card, and has some really, really cool lines. There's lines where you can exile your opponent's counterspell off the stack to let yours resolve, and then never play into that counterspell. It's a cool card. The other one is actually another Ang, and that's Ang at the Crossroads. So that's a 5-mana Ang with Bant in it. I'm not sure if any of you guys remember when Ikoria came out, but one of the companions the first companion I remember people breaking was Gyruda. And there was a weird Gyruda combo deck where, like, play Gyruda, you'd mill, and then you'd reanimate a clone of Gyruda, and then you'd keep going. Because Ang is very reminiscent of Gyruda. So when Ang enters, you look at the top 5 cards, and you can put a creature card with CMC 4 less among them into play. From a combos perspective, it fetches every angle of your combo, because it hits 4, so it hits Appa, Swift Savior, and Doc Orlock. And then just from let's say you've been bored way too untapped, you cast this, you get another guy, and then from there you are back in the game. The card's very, very strong. And I think that, Dan mentioned a good point there about, people don't know how to play it yet or play against it yet. There's also, people don't know how to build the deck yet either.
Yeah, that's
Banned creatures, you are spoiled for choice in standard right now for banned creatures.
Easily,
Really, really spoiled. And I think there's a card called like Nature's Call or Nature's Rhythm, and it's like a call of calling from Dragonstorm of Tarkir.
Yeah, Nature's Rhythm,
So Nature's Rhythm. So I've seen people play like 2 or 3 copies of that, and then decks play no copies of that, and then decks play like other cool cards. So I think this Bant Airbending deck is like long from being cracked or figured out. And obviously, if you want to figure out a deck, maybe World Championships is a pretty good place to do it. You've got to be good at Magic to have made it there. But I like this deck quite a bit. And let's say it gets too good. Let's say it's too good. Every deck forever is going to play 4 UltraPRO. You know, it's not like there's no counter to it. I think the deck's cool.
Definitely.
So we spoke before. I don't know, Dan, if you want to talk more about the sort of is it side of decks and the flavour of is it, because
yes, absolutely. Sorry, Josh, I'm just going to stop you right there. So again, we mentioned before, the splinter twin of the format is Boomerang Basics, the Storm Chaser talent. Very, very, very powerful. Being able to just attack for turn 3 as a floor, and you get to draw a card. So is it lessons, which is what I've been sort of picking up over the last couple of weeks now since the release of the set. Shout out to Captain Walnut, one of my friends who got me onto the deck, and then I've been testing it in and out of different discords. Really, really fun. So you run cards like Gran from the new set, which is extremely weird when you first look at it, but it's really, really powerful. So Gran, I'm going to do this off my head top as well, because I've been playing that much.
Off your head top?
Off my head top. So it's a blue for a 1/2 legendary creature. It's a human peasant ally. And it has...
Alright, he's looking this up.
No, I swear to you. I swear to you. It's human peasant ally. When it attacks, you draw a card, then discard a card, and if you have 3 or more lessons in your graveyard, non-creature spells you cost 1 less to cast. So it plays.
Dan,
yes,
that is wrong, my friend.
Why is that wrong?
It's not whenever it attacks.
It's whenever it becomes tapped. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
whenever it becomes tapped. Then you draw a card and discard a card. Yeah, you got me. Turns out I wasn't looking at it. I was just reading it off of my head, Sam.
Off your head top.
Off my head top.
That's
it.
Yeah.
So it plays literal ancestral recall. So it plays accumulate wisdom, which is a 2 mana lesson from the new set, which is look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of them to your hand, the rest of them to the bottom of the order. Or if you have 3 or more lessons in your graveyard, you get to look at them 3 cards and put them into your hand. So quite important when there's mono red decks that are playing Razorkin Needlehead. So you just draw 3 cards and you don't have to deal with the triggers.
Yeah.
It cool. Runs I can't remember the name of it, but it's like a 2 mana deals 2 plus X, where X is the number of lesson cards in your graveyard, and if a creature would die, then it gets exiled.
Combustion technique,
thank you. And there's another one, Abandoned Attachments. It's hybrid, red and blue, and 1 more for an instant lesson. Yeah. You may discard a card. If you do, draw 2 cards. So very, very powerful when all of those cards are instant speed and when they cost 1 mana. You then go into the realm of, okay, so you're doing all this cool stuff with the lessons. How do you win? So there's a few ways the way I've been doing it is through Artist Talent and Monument to Endurance. So Artist Talent, we spoke about the card so much on the Storm episode last week. If you've not watched that, go check it out. Again, after the episode, really, really good episode.
Yeah, it's a good episode, lads.
So whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. So really, really important when you've got these cheap 1 mana cards that just keep on going through your deck, and then you draw more cards. And also more important when you have Monument to Endurance. So Monument is a 3 mana artifact. Whenever you discard a card, choose 1. You can only choose 1 of these per turn. So it's draw a card, create a treasure, or each opponent loses 3 life. So there's turns where you have like not a lot in hand, and then you play an accumulate wisdom, draw 3, discard draw from the Artist Talent, trigger Monument, draw another card, draw 3 more cards from the accumulate wisdom, and with all of these spells costing 1 mana, it's really, really good. So that's the main way that I've been winning through it. A lot of people are testing some cards like Duelist of the Mind, because you're drawing a lot of cards anyway, so you may as well just play that. You're casting crimes in the form of Boomerang Basics. One that I've been trying out is Kitze Otterball Elite, is it called?
Yeah, the Looter.
That's the one, yeah. 2 mana, 1/3. And literal Eddie Merkrab at 2 mana 5/5 enters tapped if it's your opponent's turn. When it enters, tap 2 creatures.
Dan.
Yes.
Dan, obviously, I live in Liverpool. For those who don't know, where do you live, Dan?
Not far from Liverpool.
Yeah, so about half an hour.
Give or take.
Drive.
Yeah.
I can hear every time Dan casts an Eddie Merkrab from my house.
Oh yeah, you can. It's like,
I can actually, I can hear it across the pond. No, it's carry on. Sorry.
That's
So
okay.
I'm just looking at this deck. That cumulative wisdom is basically ancestral recall.
It's
set up to be ancestral
literally ancestral recall. It's not hard to get 3 lessons in your graveyard at all.
recall. No,
Really, really not hard.
because it's playing 17 lessons. Is that?
It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot.
17 sounds about right. Yeah. And then you just run in.
I like the look. I actually like the look of this deck.
It's really, really
cool,
sick.
man.
I'm gonna
Really
win
cool.
an
This is the
RCQ
kind
and
of
then
deck
come on here and do a deck tech with it.
This is the kind of deck that I've never really played before, and I actually wouldn't mind changing to have a go. And it doesn't. The thing is, like, I did actually want to talk about price a bit, because some of the cards in this new set of, particularly obviously the Badger Mole Cub is really expensive, but this deck doesn't seem that pricey in terms
it's
of
not. Like the most
getting the
expensive
cards.
cards that. Well, I had a lot of the cards outside of the mana base. The most expensive card is a cross between Monument and Artist Talent, and they're like £6 each.
Right.
Some of the lands are a bit more expensive. Yeah,
You could play this deck on a budget if you wanted to.
Oh, easily. And
You
just,
really could.
Just going over to MTG Goldfish, they did a 0 rare Is It Lessons deck, and that costs $28, but it still plays, some of the important cards like Gran, Tellurian Teller, Eddie Merc Crabs, and then all of your your lessons that are really, really important. But this deck is so fun, man. It can just win out of absolute nowhere. There is also like the whole Boomerang basics and Storm Chaser's Talent angle of it, so you can just play like an early game aggro threat as well. It's so fun. Go on, Sam.
It might be worth. I was just gonna say we've mentioned it a lot, but I don't think we've actually gone over what Boomerang Basics does.
Oh yeah, of course. So Boomerang Basics is a 1-mana sorcery lesson, unsummon effect. So it's return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand or controller's hand, whatever. And then if it was one of your permanents, you draw a card. So it's
so good.
So the perfect
So
curve, the perfect curve in sort of the new standard is turn 1 Storm Chaser's Talent, turn 2 Boomerang Basics, replay Storm Chaser's Talent. So then you've drawn a card, you're attacking for free on turn 2, and you've got a Storm Chaser's Talent again. So you've now got 2 otters.
It's really good.
It's insane. And all of these pros seem to think that lesson seems good as well, because it's 18% of the World Championships field. And then the next deck is Team Rotters, which is also another Storm Chaser's Talent Boomerang Basics deck.
I think Josh put it the best before, in that you've split the meta in 2 moving into this weekend. You have Boomerang Basics decks and Badger Mole decks, and Team Rotters a deck that plays both of them. Or can play both of them, which I think is quite interesting. So, why don't I just do the best 2 things at once?
Yeah, may as well.
Otters is a deck of old. So, like, we've seen it before. But that deck always felt like it was good, but missing a little something. And I think that it's benefited a lot from Avatar. And I just want to say, I've never, ever watched Avatar in my life, but I'm just looking at these card arts now. The card arts are really cool.
Yeah, they are really
Can
sick.
we just say that the set looks nice?
Even
if it was, Spider-Man wasn't a great set, but it also doesn't look very nice, whereas this one looks sick. I just want to say this on the podcast now. My new goal and standard is to shoot the Sheriff Gran.
It'd be smart, otherwise you're going to win on turn 3, turn 4.
Not because I need to remove Gran, but I want to shoot Gran, like actual with a gun, bullet gun. Flavor-wise, like, I've played me Nan, I've capped your Nan, lad, what are you going to do? Anyway, moving
swiftly on.
Yes, I've lived in Liverpool for 2 years now, and it's got to me. But no, it's interesting because this deck doesn't actually benefit off the fact that they're lessons other than Gran and accumulate wisdom. Right? There's no other lesson synergies. No, I guess like the removal spell cares about lessons too.
Yeah.
But in our preview video, Josh, for this set, we said that a lot of these lesson cards are quite that the lessons this time around are much better than what we've seen in the past.
Yeah.
But we still are going to Strixhaven next year.
Oh, I do think the speculation around lessons is actually quite justified. I think you see it in Pauper quite a bit. there's ways to learn in Pauper that is being sort of explored. I do think that it just takes one really good learn card to exploit a lot of these lesson cards, because they remind me a bit like MDFCs, right? So you've got like this ulterior sort of mode to this card that isn't particularly too powerful, but if you can fetch for that, if you can tutor for that effect that you need, could be really impactful.
Could be really good, dude.
The one thing I want to say though, Dan, is like we've talked about what is in the meta now and how the meta has sort of looked, but the meta's like changed and pushed decks out. Like there's no red. Like I'm looking at these meta, there's no red decks. There's no hardly any like blue black mid range decks being played.
Yeah.
Is there any space for like just an aggro deck anymore, like a red aggro deck?
So I think there's still space for a red aggro deck. It's just not very good, and it hasn't been very good for a little bit, or at least since they banned Heartfire Hero or Monsters Rage. Rest in peace. But now that they've got Screaming Nemesis out of the format, I think it's just sort of like the last bullet that they need to put into it to make it to the point where it's gone back to, oh, I'm just gonna go play F and I'm gonna play mono red.
Yeah,
it's definitely, you know, it's still powerful, but it's not. If I'm competing at like World Championships or Pro Tour or even like RC level, maybe even RCQ level, I'm not thinking, oh, you know what, I'm gonna play mono red.
It is important to note that mono red has been registered by 3 players.
Yeah.
And the mere mid range like shenanigans, I know Josh loves, has been registered by 2 players. Yeah. So it's not as if these decks are non-existent, but like, geez, these. You know, we've just gone over how powerful Airbending looks, sorry.
Yeah.
Can you just imagine going turn 2 Emberheart Challenger against Badgermole Cub? It doesn't...
It feels underwhelming, that's for sure.
It feels pretty not good, yeah, for sure. And, you know, like, that's a good thing. I hate to say, but that's a good thing. New card team play is good.
I think one of the draws of Standard, right, is having these longer games, these almost games of chess where you don't really get afforded in other formats because of the power levels or the sort of game ending interactions. For example, if you're against, well, let's think the deck in Modern, the deck you're on, Sam, Neoform, right? Like you Neoform waits for one big turn, and if they get interacted with enough, the game's just over. With Standard, I think that sort of quick game that Mono Red provided isn't really conducive to a healthy Standard format. You know, I think Standard needs to be in a place where, you know, you can easily finish a game within 50 minutes, but you're going to get you can't just win in the first 15, if you know what I mean. Like, I think you have to have a game of Magic and play a game of Magic, and I think that's the spirit of Standard, and it's been the spirit of Standard that I've known since playing. You know. Mid-range being sort of like viable, you know, these weird, like, not because I wouldn't say your deck, Dan, was like a combo deck, just more of a high synergistic deck.
Yeah, that's
right. And these synergies that you can sort of play and then interact with, and I think this Standard format looks to be along those lines of highly interactive games of almost chess in a way.
Yeah.
It looks, I think for me, it looks more fun because it's not what we're used to. Like, Mono Red was one of the top performers in Standard for ever since Screaming Nemesis got printed, really, and Heartfire Hero as well. Again, both gone, rest in peace. But with this sort of like new format, it's now allowed new decks to come about, like Lessons, Banter, Bending Combo. But it's also allowed returning decks to come back and make a big impact on format, like the Jeskai Shiko control deck, and the Team Roster strategy, which, you know, we said we had George on a podcast not too long ago, in the last 12 months or so, talking about Team Rotters and how he did really well with it. And now it's come back. So the deck's always been there. It's just because of how good Screaming Nemesis exactly was. It's just hated a lot of the deck out of the format, and with these new additions like Boomerang Basics and Team Rotters or Badgermole Cub in any green deck that wants to play it, it's a new thing. I do think that there's the new aggro deck of the format is the blue-green Badgermole or a Broad Shell.
Right, yeah.
Just because you can go like turn 1 Land of War Elves into the turn 2 land, Badgermole still then got 2 mana left to play about with your Land of War Elves. It's just insane. It floods the board so much. So I'm very, very excited to see where standards come in. Still a lot of cards that haven't really been explored too much in Avatar as a whole. So, you know, there's still room for improvement or room for change. It's going to be fun.
I think this weekend, though, is going to be the highlight, right? I mean, Sam's alluded to the sort of standard metagame. We've not actually gone into the metagame of Worlds, because it's this weekend's Worlds, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I think usually a meta is defined by, well, back in the day, it was a standard set comes out, the format's up in arms, and then a Pro Tour happens, and then the Pro Tour then defines the meta, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And this is going to be, we're going to see something similar here. You know, it came out 2 weeks ago. This is the biggest we've had, you know, a few standard things, challenges, whatever. But I think the true testament is when you get a room full of pros together and they've sweated over, you know, the best Magic players in the world, and they've sweated over what is the best decks in standard right now. And yeah, I don't know if you want to go through this breakdown, Dan, or not, but it'd be really interesting to see how our sort of speculations have sort of manifested with the pros.
Yeah, absolutely. So if I can remember in editing, I'll flash it up on the screen now, but it will be linked down in the description as well. So you've got Is It Lessons, that's 23 decks of the field, and it is 18.3%. Team Rotters, 20 decks at 15.9%. Last Airbender, 16 decks at 12.7%. Is It Looting at 14 decks, 11.1%. Jeskai Control, 10 decks, 7.9%. Is It Prowess, 9 decks, 7.1%. Simic or Broid / Badgermole Shell, 7 decks, 5.6%. Sultai Reanimator, 6 decks, 5.8%. Golgari or Broid / Badgermole Shell, 5 decks, 4% of the meta. And Jeskai Artifacts, 4 decks, 3.2% of the meta. And the rest of them, such as like Dimir Bounce or Dimir Midrange or Mono Red, they've all just been piled into other. That's 12 decks at 9.5%.
Healthy meta.
Yeah, definitely.
One thing I will say is that while this is a very important event, I do think I don't think this is going to be like a Pro Tour and it defines the meta.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There is like, when you play a field like this, it's cannibalistic, almost. It's what can I play to eat the rest of the format. So this is not going to be what the format looks like in a 2 months' time. For example, I really like the look of one of decks in Other. I think the Dimir Bounce is really, really well positioned. So it'll be interesting to see how that performs over the weekend. But obviously, you know, you can play Intimidation Tactics main. You can play 4 copies main, which is just really, really good right now. So like, it's going to be a fun event to watch. But if you sat at home wondering, I don't understand how I'm going to afford for Badgermole, Corb, and whatever else, I wouldn't worry too much. You got to remember
I don't think it's going to price you out standard. It'll price you out the decks. There's going to be decks it'll price people out of, but I don't think it'll price you out the format, because there's still some very reasonably priced decks in the format.
And like, you know, you can invest into any format whenever you like. The same in a month or so. This is, whether people would like to agree or not, this is what we want to see in a standard format when you have 8 different options. We've just come from a format where there was 2, you know, like, and one of those was
one of them wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't really an option.
Yeah, one of them was wrong. So you know, like, I think that you've also, like, you know, there's one player in Oars of Demons, right? But that could just be, there's always one person who plays a brew. So there's a lot here that means a lot, but there's a lot here that doesn't mean a lot as well. My advice to people at home would to be, rather than see what decks win, see how decks play. You know, like, if you like spell slinging, but Is It Lessons doesn't have a good weekend, just keep an eye on that strategy. It might be in a different position in 3 weeks' time.
Yeah,
do you know, you said something the other day, Sam, that off the pod was like, standard has become not about decks, but about individual cards.
Yeah,
and I think we've highlighted this in the conversation.
It sounds too smart for me to say, but
yeah, a lot of things that you say sound too smart for you. But I think, for example, like Storm Chaser's Talent. That is a card.
It's a house of a card. So
decks just sort of form around it.
Yeah.
Badger Mole Cub, decks just form around that card.
Yeah.
And it seems to be, before then, Kaito, for example, seems to be a deck that forms around Kaito. There seems to be like key cards in the format. Like, this is a good card. How can we best utilize this card? Rather than, oh, this is going to be a good strategy, or this is a really good deck. Like, see, for example, you look at modern Boros Energy. You don't look at like one of the cards and think, how do we build around this card? Like, you don't look at Ocelot Pride and think, how do we build around this card? Because there's so many decks that can sort of play it and utilize it in different ways. Do you understand what I'm trying to say by this?
I do. Yeah. But it's very hard in Standard to sit down and go, I want to play aggro. You have to play the staples in the best aggro shell you think will be possible, right?
Yeah.
So like, look at it. You don't get to say I'm playing aggro, but you do get to say I'm playing this aggressive version of my Storm Chaser's Talent deck in my Is It Lesson strategy.
Yeah.
You don't just get to go, well, I'm going to play a combo deck. You're going, okay, well, Badger Mole Cub can combo with these cards in this fashion. It's the pillars are really very prominent in Standards, and they always will be. That's just because it's such a realistically, you can look at Modern as a Pro Tour and Standard as a World Championship. There's just going to be smaller, more streamlined decks in Standard, just because of how the staples function. And the most important thing in Standard is your mana base is bad for now.
Yeah.
So you don't get to play 5-color Leyline of the Guild Pact. That's not what it's called. You don't get to play Zoo, whatever. Your spells can be the best. I can make a deck of Storm Chaser's Talent, Badger Mole Cub, Monuments to Endurance. Somebody give me a playable white card, Appa, and then somebody give me a playable black card. Nowhere to run. I could build that deck, but your deck is only as good as the spells you can cast with your lands. Like, I could build a stronger deck than you, but if I don't cast any of my spells, what's the point, right?
Yeah.
Like, one thing I would like to say about is we are getting Steam Vents in January, which is quite a scary prospect.
Yeah. So the sort of like one thing that I've been a bit upset about with Lessons is specifically the mana base.
Bad.
It's not that it's bad, it's the fact that it's awkward. So the blue-red Verge, as good as it is, it can just be Volcanic Island.
Yes. Is that blue first or red first?
It's red first, that's what makes it so weird. Whereas
blue, so is blue more important for the Lessons that can turn on? Yeah.
Because you got Storm Chaser's Talent, you got Gran.
You got your Nan, yeah.
Exactly, yeah, that's it. So
the fact that we get... Sorry, carry on.
The fact that we get Steam Vents coming in and Lorwyn.
It's huge, right?
You get like
really big
Blood
game.
Crypt coming in as well, so maybe there's like a red-black deck that's knocking about. Yeah, it's going to be fun. I mean, you've got cards like Multiversal Passage, Starting Sound to sort of fill in for those slots. But I think once we see the complete Shocklands coming in, then those cards will just be push aside. I don't want to play with you anymore type thing.
Yeah.
We'll just go back to Shocks and Fashlands, like what Modern used to be.
I enjoy the third Shock mana bases of Standard, to be fair. Pretty cool. I think they're good enough where like you can cast your spells, but it's also not like, geez, I always remember Khan's Battle for Zendikar Standards when it was like Jeskai Black, and it was like I played Abzan Blue. Like, you should not be allowed to do that in Standard. You really shouldn't.
With the Canopy lands and the allied fetches, yeah, it was silly that.
Fetches and fetchables in the same Standard format is
big design.
Hey, you guys gonna watch Worlds this weekend?
Oh, absolutely. I'm excited to see how.
I'll try. I mean, I'll try, but I've got a busy weekend. But we've also got the Chad team are also going to a Modern Invitational for Axiom now, and we've also got people competing in a Standard Super RCQ.
It's a busy weekend for the UK, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not competing in any of them. I didn't qualify for Axiom because I could barely attend, and see, I'm not traveling 3 hours to play standard.
Yeah,
I'm just not doing it.
That's fair.
With the little prep that I've had, I mean, the only deck I've got built up now is the blue bat mid range deck, and I don't think that's good. I am going to build. I am looking into the bounce deck, Sam, that you're on. I'm very interested. I also really like the look of the blue red stuff with Storm. I think just Storm
the deck looks cool.
I think I'm gravitating towards more Storm Chasers talent sort of strategies than I am the sort of other strategies. Like, even if I did own Badger War Cubs, I'm not sure that those strategies are for me. Although the Bant deck does look quite fun.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm just
Bant
not
deck
sure.
looks cool.
Yeah, that deck. I mean, on cost again, that deck's like what, $700-800. Like, justify that if you're a standard only player. I mean, luckily I'm not, but like, justify that for a standard.
Even it's interesting to know that for that Bant Earthbending deck, even from an arena economy point of view, it's very expensive.
Yeah. There's so
It's
many
like you
rares in that
need
deck.
so many rares, and then one of your vital pieces is a mythic, and then I don't know if there's any other mythics in the deck.
Appa's a mythic. Quantum Riddler, Great Hoof Behemoth.
You've just said Appa to me, and in my head I've got one in God's green earth is Appa, but it's the flying finger.
Yeah, it's the combo piece.
Yeah. Sorry. In my head, it's just a flying pig. Oh no, sorry, it's a bison. Yeah. Sorry. I genuinely though, my heart's just like, what is Appa?
What's Appa? Not even thought about the deck or anything, Sam. Don't worry about it.
No. But I even explained the combo.
Yeah, you did.
No, I think that, like, as well, one thing that's very, very refreshing to see, and I'm sure you two would agree with me, in the fact that there are two prominent Izzet decks here. No, don't lie to me. Izzet was always going to be a good aspect of the field.
Oh yeah.
But you know how refreshing it is to see different versions of Izzet decks in the same meta?
Yeah.
And not just Izzet.
So Otters is technically Izzet just with
Vitality.
So you've got four of the 6 most played decks in the room is going to be Izzet dot deck.
Yeah.
It's quite funny how most of this calendar year has been Izzet being the best deck. Like, you had Izzet Cutter, when that card got printed, then you had Vivi Cauldron as the next best deck after Cutter got banned, and now we've got
and then you had Vivi Cauldron,
and
then you had Vivi Cauldron.
Yeah, and then now we've got one of these Izzet decks.
You've got this deck, right? You've got the colours that play sort of arguably the best removal in standard, also some of the best threats in standard, and it has some of the best synergies in standard.
Yep.
And you know, it's going to be. I'm not sure how scary or how problematic it'll be when Steam Vents does come into the format, because it's going to be, as Dan alluded to before, the problem of these decks is the fact getting your coloured mana, like you turn 1 blue source, for example. It's going to really get rid of those problems for having Steam Vents, and maybe these decks will actually just gravitate to be the best decks in the format. But we'll see how Worlds go. Have you got any predictions for Worlds?
Go on, Sam.
That's a good question. So I'm not going to be able to tell you what deck does really, what deck's going to perform. I think Team Rotters being second is very surprising. I did not expect that. I know that Matchek's been working on it locally, and by locally I mean by himself. And he's good enough to figure it out, but he's been it's fine, But seeing, second best is like at the biggest stage in the world with the best players is really impressive. My prediction is that, taking a look at this, I think Jeskai Artifacts might struggle. I think realistically, all of those decks on the second side of the bracket, so we've got the table on the left and the table on the right. I think those decks on the right are going to struggle a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jeskai Control's a good choice because of Shiko. Very strong magic cards, and hasn't really. It's a 5 CMC card, so it's kind of been bullied out of the format a little bit. My guess is going to be we see a build of Bant Airbending that we haven't seen yet. I'm going to watch the best players in the world play an impressive combo deck, and I think Bant Airbending is going to look really, really good. I don't think you're going to build it for your local FNM and go, what? How do? But my money If I had to pick a deck now, my money is on either Team Rotters or Last Airbender, having a new 75 and looking very, very. That's the most I can give you.
Josh, do you wanna give us yours?
So I'm not as enfranchised in the format as you two lads, and I really like Sam's reason there. And just by pure sheer numbers alone, it's probably going to be some sort of is it coloured deck there. But I do like what Sam said about Jeskai control. I do think that has a place in this meta. I do think that a good control deck, knowing how to, the control decks now, they're playing stock ups and they're playing what's the other one? Consult the star charts, so you can really filter your deck, find the exact threat you need, exact answers to the threats that are presented. And I do think that it's got the tools to take it to the late game, especially if you like against an Ulboroid deck where you can just play like Ultima or whatever it is Sam was on about, and then basically reset the game kind of thing. I do like the look of that, but I think at the same time that these is prowess decks or these is decks do have the capability of getting underneath the control decks as well as having that synergistic turns that Dan was on about before. So I'm on. If I would be on like is it maybe not an Otters version, but more like an more aggressive version of an is it deck, Storm Chasers talent deck with potentially Jeskai control doing well as well.
Dan, you on mono red?
No, not this week. If there was a Leyline deck in there, maybe I'd throw my hat in the ring for it.
That's a good shout, actually. No Leyline.
There's no Leyline whatsoever. I don't necessarily think it's bad. I just think it's not amazing compared to what the if you're playing a creature based deck, then you're playing an Ouroboros Badger Mold type deck. And like we said before, if you go Ember Heart Challenger into the Badger Mold, it does just feel completely underwhelming. And because there's no like turn 2 kill in Leyline anymore, so it's a bit more slower, which is still quite scary. But if I was to put my money on any deck winning, I would I'd agree with Josh in the sense where Jeskai control it's probably it is the best control deck that we've currently got in standard. And it's going to be played by the best players in the world. These people that have played control throughout different metas, some of these newer decks and like newcomers into the format and recurring decks like Otters, Lessons, Bending. People have put time and effort into playing, but whether it's enough time and effort to say years and years and years of experience that say, I don't know, Jean-Emmanuel Depraz got on Jeskai control or whatever, or these control shells where they play sort of fairly similar patterns. I'm going to counter yourself, kill your other thing, and then play this threat in form of Shiko and then win that way. But again, it wouldn't surprise me if Team Rotters takes it home. I think it's too silly. I think the mix of having the Storm Chasers talent plus Boomerang basics whilst also having Badger Mole Cup and then also having a combo built into it as well, I think it's just insane. So I'm going to put my money on Team Rotters. I'm actually going to say it's going to be a Team Rotters Jeskai control final.
Oh,
I do like the look of the Sultai Reanimator deck as well, but I think that might be like a turn too slow and
I agree.
Easily interactable.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah.
It is a cool deck. I just think it's a tad. There's a tad too much could go wrong for it.
It's a tad too cool and a tad less good than you need it to be, I think.
Yeah.
Really cool strategy, but I think it's a little too cool. I think actually one thing we haven't spoken about, which I want to quickly touch on if you guys don't mind, is Dan. Firstly, I know Boomerang Basics says draw cards in it, but you can just basics their Leyline, which must feel awful. Yeah, most played card in the format, by the way.
It doesn't feel great. It doesn't feel great.
And on the topic of Otters, so when we last saw Otters, for those who don't know, Otters is a deck that utilizes cards like Thundertrap Trainer and Storm Chasers talent with a card called Valley Flood Caller, I believe. Mm-hmm. And basically, Valley Flood Caller has a lot of text on it. Some of it's relevant. I'm only going to go with the text that's relevant for the combo. So it's a 4-mana Otter. And essentially, when you tap, cast a non-creature spell, you untap your
3 mana.
Otters. Hey?
3 mana.
It's 3 mana.
Yeah.
What did I just say?
4.
4.
Sorry.
Go again,
It's
Sam.
a 3 mana. Yeah, sorry. We're gonna cut this out. We're not gonna cut this out. Yeah. Sorry. So basically, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, don't call for a judge. I can't take it anyway. Right? You untap your like otters and rats and stuff whenever you cast a non-creature spell. So if you add Enduring Vitality into that mix, tap them for mana, you cast a spell, you untap them for mana, you can go off. That's the combo. You generate a lot of mana, cast non-creature spell. That deck used to have to play cards like Song of Totems Ants.
It still does.
That's right, yeah.
So
Still does?
Yeah, so it's at the minute with Boomerang Basics having the draw card, so you can make infinitely big creatures. You could draw your deck, and you can make infinite mana. And you can make a lot of mana with all of your creatures, and then play Song for essentially infinite creatures. So it's got a lot going on. It's going to be
it's basically replaced this town as being enough, isn't it? Like this town as being enough. Replace that.
Yeah.
A lot of people have been saying that it's better than This Town Ain't Big Enough, which is quite scary because This Town Ain't Big Enough got banned. And because you draw a card. But because This Town Ain't Big Enough got banned, it's making me think whether in the next BNR, maybe depending on how the meta looks at that point, obviously going off of a World Championships, you wouldn't really, or World Championships meta breakdown anyway. You wouldn't expect.
I think at that point, I think at that point, just ban Storm's Case Talent.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. I've explained my point terribly, and to sort of redeem myself a little bit, my point is, it's come to me. My point is that essentially this Boomerang Basic Storm Chaser's Talent thing is obviously very, very good. Multiple decks are adopting it. It's an abusable thing, and this Otter strategy actually having this like little abusive cycle it can do to itself to gain card advantage is like where I think that deck was lacking previously, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly.
So the fact that people have revisited it is very impressive. And the fact that people have gone, I'm going to play this for a stake at World Championship is also very impressive as well.
Yeah.
I think the meta also looks like this because there's not a 1-mana black removal spell.
Yeah.
And I think with how Standard operates, I get one more.
Yeah, there's not
one way or another.
Really.
There's that thing in it, like go around Twitter. No, we need cut down back, and I do think we need cut down.
Yeah, I never really played with cut down, but like sure.
Since honestly being a blue black sort of Kaito gamer in Standard, having that card gone has really affected the sort of deck. Like you're playing like what's it? Stab is it?
Yeah,
and then intimidation tactics. Intimidation tactics is like so weak, being a sorcery speed spell, and stab just isn't big enough to deal with. Hang
on a second, lads. This might be a great thing to end the pod on. What does stab do?
-2/-2.
Yeah. I'm not gonna say actually. Never mind.
Okay.
But it was involving Grand. But
I'm gonna stab you, Nan.
Right.
I'm gonna stab you, Nan.
I'm gonna stab you, Nan, kid. No, I think that.
I'm gonna stab you, Nan, kid.
Oh, I'm gonna have a horrible reputation. Just for the pods, both my nans are lovely women, and I love them a lot. So, I think Black's really missing that that ability to keep up, and he usually does so through removal spells, and that's why you see that the black decks are also playing Storm Chaser's Talent, because then you don't have to keep up, you just have to Boomerang Basics. But
that's it.
I'm excited.
It's gonna be good.
I would be very surprised if this tournament was a wash, as in is it Lessons just dominate? I think it's going to be an even pace up until the top 8, and then we're going to have a really good top 8.
It's going to be a refreshing. It's going to be
very refreshing. Standard. Yeah. As one of the Lessons says, it will quench you, and I think that's a good metaphor for Worlds this weekend.
It's the quenchiest. That's the flavor text on it.
Is that what it says? Is that actually the flavor text?
Yeah.
Right. What's the flavor text on Gran? It's been so long since I've had hope, but you've brought it back to life. Yeah. There we go. That's good. That's what Worlds is.
And now I'm going to stab you, Nan.
Okay, right.
I'm going to stab you, Nan, kid.
Right.
Okay.
Anyway, I think we've waffled on too long about Worlds. Very very excited to watch it.
Could I just finish on? It's a good time to be a Magic the Gathering gamer. I think.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. A standard gamer as well.
Standard, modern, Pioneer, Pauper. I was going to say Pioneer, then what even is that? Pauper, Legacy. It's a good, exciting time. We just had Eternal Weekend. I would like to talk about that one day, but we had Eternal Weekend and it looked really good as well. So it's a really good time to be a Magic the Gathering player, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah. Thank you. I don't know if thank you, but thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Enjoy it because like it's a good point actually. You can't not play Magic when it looks good, but then cry when it looks bad.
Yeah. I think if you enjoy it now while it looks good and it looks healthy, rather than in a couple of months' time when the best deck
it's a bit more figured out,
it's going to be like miserable to play the format again like it was with Vivi. Just enjoy it while you can. Go to your FNM, support your local, and have fun. Okay, lads. Anything else before we wrap up and outro this podcast?
I just want to say, go on, Josh.
No, you go first.
I was just going to say, I think it's been I've really enjoyed recording this episode. It feels like it's been a while since we've all sat down together and partaked in a standard metagame, but this is fun. Thank you both.
It's been a long time, to be fair. I enjoy it. Like I said, you're my two favourite hosts.
Wow.
Co-host.
Thanks, Dan.
Go on, Josh. What are you saying?
I was going to say, can we mention the charity event?
Yes, part of the outro. Don't worry, not forgot you. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we have a charity event coming up next weekend on Saturday, the 13th of December, over at Harlequins in Preston. There will be a link in the description. This charity event is in aid of War Child. Josh, would you like to tell us more about War Child?
So War Child is a UK-based charity that provides aid and support to children affected by war and conflict. It's very relevant in not only for Magic, because Magic is a subsidiary of Hasbro, and Hasbro is traditionally a games and sort of child entertainment sort of company. So it's very relevant to Hasbro. What does that mean for us? It means that we're going to get support, hopefully, from yours truly to give prize support, etc. The charity is important to me and a lot of people that I know because of a military background, and also being a dad. I couldn't think of the atrocities that I've gone through in Gaza and places like that, where kids have lived normal lives and then all of a sudden have been affected by whether it be invaders or war, or seeing things that children just shouldn't do it. We're very privileged and very lucky living in a first world country, but there are people who have lived the same or similar lives that we live right now and all of a sudden been affected by war. And it's always the innocent, it's always the sort of young and the people who are not directly involved that end up being affected the worst. And I think War Child is a excellent charity to support for a cause. So we play so other kids can also play, and that's what we're going to do on Saturday the 13th of December in Preston. We're going to play some Modern and we're going to raise some money for this amazing cause.
Definitely look forward to it. I personally can't wait. It's been a hot minute since I played Modern, and what better to do it than to raise money for such a great cause, which affects so many people that Josh is close to, I'm close to, Sam's close to. Someone in your life is going to be close to people that have been affected. So definitely check the link out in the description, and we will hopefully see you there on the 13th of December at Harlequins in Preston.
There will be I'm going to just do a 30-second ramble. This charity, on this podcast, we consistently talk about the feel bad of the RCQ system. We do not like the RCQ system. We hate the way that's the way to get through the RCs, through the Pro Tour and all that good stuff. The RCQ system, particularly in the UK, is awful. This tournament is almost a what do you call it? Like a fight back to that feel bad. So in the Swiss, you're going to get a prize per win. You're going to get something on entry. We've got bespoke tokens for the event, and the tokens are sweet. I ordered them yesterday. They are very, very cool. Designed by an artist, hand drawn, all that good stuff. None of that AI pish that we want to avoid. It is a feel-good event. There's going to be a raffle for prizes. The prizes we've got are insane. Harlequins Preston have put together an insane spread for prizes, all through a non-profit sort of system. We've also got support from Axion now. So the winner, I think, of the top 8, or I think maybe the chocolate top 8. I'm not sure which top 8. The 2 top 8s, by the way. One of the winners will get a voucher to entry into the next mega modern event, or a voucher for an Axion Now tournament. There's lots of people investing in this. It's also going to be live streamed, and there's also going to be MTGO giveaways online, as well as just overall feel good in the Christmas time. So
if it's,
please come.
We're giving away what we can, and then we're giving away more. So it's nobody's doing this for their own benefit. This is all being done for the benefit of the charity and of the people who come down to have a good time.
So I think the tickets are £35 each, and I think £15 of that goes directly into the pot for the charity, and then £20 goes in only running the tournament. So that's paying for the judge, paying for the prize support that we've acquired. I know Harlequins, because of like tax and stuff, they've been able to get like tax relief on a lot of boosters and things, because they're giving away for essentially donating to charity. So it's really, really top heavy, the prizes. Like the prizes are insane, like so insane. Everyone's going to walk away with something. You're going to get your £35 out of it, just by being there. Feel good. Maybe the raffle, if you want to buy more tickets into the raffle, you can do that. But yeah, it's just going to be a feel good moment, and give you an excuse to play every round. You know what I mean? Prizes per round means that you're not going to 0-2 drop, and that's my day done. Let's go do something else. I want to stay here, because even if I 0-2 round 1 and 2, I could still potentially sneak into the chocolate top 8. I can still potentially spike 3 or 4 more prizes. It's going to be worth it. Like,
you could get booster packs and then open a Badgermole Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty good. Yeah. We can't argue with that.
Yeah, thank you, Josh. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching this week's episode of Battle Chads. Do not forget to like, comment, subscribe, share it with a friend, a family member, share it with your nan. Follow us on our socials. All of our buttons are going to be linked down in the description, along with the World Championship meta breakdown, as well as the ticket sales for next week's charity event. Other than that, I've been Dan. This has been Josh and Sam, my 2 lovely co-hosts, my favourite co-hosts that I've ever had to deal with, ever. Other than that, thank you very much, and I will see you all next week. Take care, bye.
See you later, guys. Thank you.
Bye.